So just a few words of introduction for our mayor, Dwight Jones. Last time, as I mentioned, he was with us was 4 years ago, and he was mayor-elect. We are very pleased to have him back. He has been a public servant for 35 years now, has served on the Richmond School Board, including a number of years as the chair of that board. He served as well in the Virginia House of Delegates starting in 1993, and has served on a number of boards over the years, important boards in Richmond, the Richmond Red Cross, the YMCA Board of Directors, MCV Hospital Authority, and many others. Also, as though he's not busy enough, he also serves as senior pastor of First Baptist South Richmond, where his son Derek serves with him. And then it was suggested that I might also add that he is a Redskins fan. We are so happy to have Mayor Dwight Jones with us. Will you all join me in welcoming Mayor Jones? Bless you.
Well, thank you. It's very nice to be here, and I appreciate the invitation. And I didn't realize that it had been 4 years and that I was mayor-elect when I came the last time. It might mean that time is going by very quickly. I was not, I know you're not supposed to do politics in church, but Mr. November came up and asked me to fix some potholes. I said, I'll fix them just before the election. So I think I have at least one vote in here today. It's a delight to be here with all of the good people of St. Paul. You do such a wonderful work. The ministry that you do is so relevant. It is such a vibrant ministry. And I want to applaud this church for being on the ground and not being afraid to touch people when they are in their time of greatest need. And so we applaud the ministry of this church, and I don't know what we would be without you, so thank you so very much. Wallace has come in and done a wonderful job. He is a dear friend, and it's a delight to count him as a dear friend and a colleague. And Betsy Carr, who's in the General Assembly of Virginia, I feel her pain. Having been in the General Assembly for 15 years, I know what she goes through, but she does a wonderful job as well, and we're so delighted to have a person there who has a notion and a passion for ministry, because ministry can be done in the context of that legislative body. I am very happy to be amongst all of the great speakers that have been listed for this series of speeches or talks. It's a stellar group, and I'm happy to be in the company of all of those who have been and those who are coming. I've been asked to talk a little bit about the next 4 years for the city of Richmond, and I think that that is something that all of us should be thoughtful about. We're all caught up in the presidential elections, and you're on one side or the other side, but at the end of the day, the rubber meets the road where you live. The rubber meets the road in the locality, and so we really need to be concerned about what's happening in the city of Richmond and what's happening in the other elections as well. When I took office during challenging economic times, and it was a difficult time, to be sure, even as it is now, the worst economic downturn in 75 years. And I recognized that we would not be able to tax our way out of our financial challenges, that we were going to have to find new strategies and paradigms in order to turn our ship around. And that was going to involve economic development, broadening our tax base. It was going to require us to do some different things, to find some efficiencies in government so that we could save money, and it would require us to be good at what we were able to do. And so we needed those new strategies, and we put those strategies in place. We have been aggressive in our economic and community development, our community planning and economic development strategies. One of the first things we did was to combine those two departments. When I took office, there had been 10 economic development directors in the course of 12 years, which does not lend itself to any type of stability. Mr. White, you know that. And we also have been able to do some things that are going to allow us to continue to grow by design and not by default. The consolidation of those two agencies has been key in the successes that I hope to talk about a little bit later on in my talk. We have been faithful to our core principles, and when we think about anything, there are several things that we apply. The first is that we're going to be fiercely competitive. The second is that we're going to have a tangible result on anything we're involved in. And then the third thing is that we want to make sure that we have expanded opportunities so that all citizens can be involved in the prosperity of the region. And so we want to be sure that diversity is a key component in all that we do. And we've been consistent in that approach. And despite the lagging economy, we have been able to move many things forward. And when asked how I feel about the first term of my administration, I feel very good. I think that where we are in consideration of where we were, we're light years ahead of what has been taking place in the city of Richmond. One of the things that I decided early on is that I wanted Richmond to be a AAA bond-rated city. Our neighbors to the suburbs are AAA bond-rated, our state, and there's no reason for Richmond not to be the same. When I came in, we were AA. Now we are AA+, and during my administration, we've had 5 separate upgrades from Wall Street, and we are on our way. It's not something that happens automatically or quickly, but it's a wonderful goal for us to have as the good housekeeping stamp of approval in terms of administration and efficiencies. We've been able to reduce the cost of government by millions and to get millions more into the city coffers by combining services, by twice a year tax collections rather than once a year tax collections, by the changes we made to the CDA on Broad Street, and by closing budget gaps every year. The first year I was here, Mayor, we had to close a $26 million budget gap. The next year was $30 million. The next year was $16 million. And we've done all of that without laying anybody off or without any furloughs. And so I think that's a pretty good thing. And even in the midst of all that we've been able to do in those efficiencies, we're building a new jail. And if you go by the old jail, you'll see that the infrastructure of that jail is already up. And you'll say, well, Mr. Mayor, why are you bragging about building a new jail? Well, those of us who are in a context like we're in today would not want anybody, a prisoner or a saint, to be in inhumane conditions. And if you have been around Richmond long enough, you've read headlines from time to time of people actually dying in the inhumane conditions that we had in our justice center. And so on my watch, I don't want anybody to lose their life over anything that I have control over. And so that jail is being constructed even as we speak. It is a smaller jail than was suggested because we believe that there are a lot of people in jail that don't belong there. The mentally ill and those who are low-level drug offenders. Many people are in jail because they owe child support. They could be put on ankle bracelets and they could go out and work, and if they're in jail, they can't pay the child support. If they go out and work, I hear that mother saying, amen, Reverend, that person could go out and work and be able to pay the child support at the same time. And so we've been able to do some things that needed to be done. Long-standing issues like the RMA debt. We were able to receive $62 million from debt that was owed to the city. There were some who disagreed with that, but this is something that I believe that was a smart business decision that we made, and it allowed us to do many things that we needed to do in the city. We were able to do a combined economic development study, which is called the CEDS. We found out that that had never been done, which meant that we could not pull down certain federal dollars that had been languishing that we could have taken advantage of. We're taking a comprehensive look at poverty. This is something that we should have been doing years and years ago, but we have decided that we are going to do that. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about the deconcentration of poverty with our public housing units, but I see that Adrian Goolsby has been here, so I don't know whether I can add anything to that discussion or not, but I'm going to give it a shot. We've been focused on long-term growth and development. We've been focused on our job creation and our economic base. We were able to keep Pfizer here in the city of Richmond. We were able to facilitate the expansion of HDL, which is probably one of the fastest growing businesses downtown with 653 new jobs. We've instituted a corridor strategy, and if you look around Richmond, there's something good going on in all of our corridors. That corridor strategy is the East End 9-mile road. We just announced with the Redskins deal that Bon Secours will be doing a development on the East End. And when I talk about the deconcentration of poverty, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. In Highland Park, we have the Dove Court apartments. Somebody here from Dove Court is here. Very good. Those houses are being built as we speak. In Shockoe Bottom, we have a wonderful plan where we are going to turn the farmers market into a plaza. The train shed is scheduled for completion beginning next year. North Boulevard, if you have followed City Council, you'll know that we're moving some of the functions that we have on the North Boulevard so that we can clear the 60 acres that we have on the North Boulevard, and we're going to have a request for a master developer for the North Boulevard in just a few months. Along Jefferson Davis Highway, the Model Tobacco Company is something that we're considering as an anchor project, and the Deepwater Port or terminal area was a part of our budget. We're talking about doing a little short, there's a short line railroad down there, and we're going to fix the roads so that we can cash in, as it were, on some of the work that is going on at the port. On Hull Street, the Manchester development is absolutely wonderful, and I have a vested interest in that. Spent 39 years of my life as pastor of First Baptist Church, and so what happens on Hull Street is important to me, and we see that coming back. We knew it would, we just didn't know when. The Manchester Court building is now attracting lawyers' offices, insurance offices, bonds people, and restaurants, not to mention below Commerce Avenue with the very exciting Arts District and the Reynolds South Project that we're looking forward to seeing being developed. And so all of these things are exciting to me and a part of our corridors strategy, and the revitalizations that we see allow us to know that the people that come up to me every day are really beginning to feel the energy in the city of Richmond. You know, people used to come up to me all the time and say, you know, I hate Richmond. There's nothing to do in this town. And now people come up to me every day and say, I love Richmond because Richmond is such an exciting place. In Shockoe Bottom, young people who are working in the restaurants down there come and say how they're going to stay here, they're going to live here, they love it so much they would never go anyplace else. And that's the kind of energy that we see here in the city of Richmond. And our efforts at efficiency and administration, our strategy about planning is paying off, and we can see it everywhere we look. Next summer, as Wallace has mentioned, the Redskins training camp is going to be behind the Science Museum, and it's going to be an exciting brand for the city of Richmond, because now when they talk about the Washington Redskins, they're going to talk about Richmond in the same breath. I don't mind having that kind of association. If we could get the defense working a little bit better, I'll be really happy about it. And not only the Redskins, but the 2015 UCI Cycling Championships that are coming to the city of Richmond. And we believe that we're going to have $135 million economic impact to the region, 450,000 visitors, and millions will be watching us on television, once again, adding to the brand of Richmond. Hopefully people in Europe will say, you know, I'm thinking about moving my company to the United States, and I'd love to go to that beautiful city that we see hosting the UCI Cycling Championships. The landmark renovation, a $50 million renovation of the wonderful Landmark Theater. We invested $14 million and we got back a $50 million project. I think that's pretty good business. And we're bringing people in from the counties. Our Broadway plays are boosting our tourism potential and bringing people back downtown. People in lines at the plays are being overheard to say, I haven't been downtown in 25 years. But people are coming downtown now for the plays and for the restaurants and for all of the good things that are coming. We really are the center of a dynamic region, and that region is one that we celebrate here today. Regional cooperation is something that we really have to work on. And Ben Campbell, I know, is working on regional cooperation as part of our anti-poverty commission. But I believe that the conversation has got to be a different conversation. I believe that we have to have a conversation that not only talks about regionalism as venues, but we have to talk about regional cooperation as it relates to the very basic needs of the region. We need to talk about regional transportation. And when I talk about regional transportation, I'm talking about mass transportation. We need to talk. When we talk about regionalism, we need to talk about housing. When we talk about regional cooperation, we need to talk about our educational systems. All of these things are difficult topics. I think that it's too easy just to say that we operate together the convention center, too easy to say that we operate together the airport. When there are problems in any part of the region, all of us feel it. When one county decides that they don't want to have people in the center of their streets asking for money and offers taxi cab drives to where the services are, that affects everybody. Parenthetically, the services are in Richmond. But the truth is that all of us have got to begin to think seriously about what it means to be a region. Now, we can't do the kinds of things that one might want to do, such as annexation, but we can cooperate and we can be more efficient in providing services if we're willing to give up some of our turf and just recognize that when the region is strong, all of us are strong. I recognize that Richmond is the core of the region. This is the capital city, and I make no apology for advocating for the core of the city. We're going to be strong. We're going to do things that will continue to make us strong, and we will not apologize for the strength that we believe we deserve to have as the core of the Richmond region. Thank you. And before I leave regionalism, I also want to mention that I think that the region is bigger than Richmond, Chesterfield, and Henrico and Hanover. Our region really needs to be thought of as the south of us. With all that's going on with the Army installation, with all that's going on in Petersburg and Hopewell, we need to make sure that the region does not exclude possible growth and possible opportunities for us to be a larger and greater region. So that is also an extremely important thing. Now, I'm the one that said I had to leave, so I need to stop talking. But I do want to say a word about concentrated poverty, because 1 in 4 people in the city of Richmond lives below the poverty lines. And that's something that people of faith should be concerned about. It's something that all in the region should be concerned about, and something that all of us should be willing to do something about. 50 years ago, there was this notion that all poor people should be concentrated into one area. And if you have never taken the short drive across the Martin Luther King Bridge, you should do that, because Richmond is a city divided, the haves and the have-nots. And we don't want that to continue. We want to break down those invisible barriers and change the abject poverty of what exists in our public housing situations. There are good people who live in public housing. There are decent people who live in public housing. I was in one of the courts this week on Sunday doing some political work, and when I came into the court, into the center of that court, little children ran from all over the court. They were pulling on my pants. They were asking me to write on their arms or to write on a napkin or on a piece of paper. They were just excited to see somebody that they recognized from television in their community. And it reminded me of visiting other countries. And in other countries where you would go and the children would come to greet the American visitor, asking for a gift or a handout or a hand. And I thought to myself, here we are in 2012, the 21st century, in a recession, but yet there are many of us who are still prospering. And we have this kind of condition right in our own city. And I said to myself, as I say to you today, we cannot allow that to continue to exist. We have got to change the way we do housing. We have got to deconcentrate poverty. We've got to find a way to have great communities no matter where they are, no matter who they're for. And these great communities consist of mixed income housing, excellent schools, and community centers. When you put those three things together, you have a community where people can have success modeled for them and where people can have a chance at a good life. And that's what we're committed to doing. In our budget last year, we put in money for the pre-development planning for the deconcentration of poverty in Creighton and Wickham Court, and we're going to do that. I was in Creighton on one night this week, and we're working with the individuals who live there so that we can make sure that they have one-on-one replacement, to make sure that they have an idea of what it will mean to come back into these new communities. And I hope that in the next years we'll see some movement on that particular issue. It is one that is near and dear to my heart. And so with that being said, I believe that we're on the right track. I believe that in this coming years we'll have a new baseball stadium, we'll have a new coliseum, we'll have jobs and opportunity, we'll have housing, transportation to support all of the needs of our residents. I believe that in the next 4 years, let me back up because that didn't come out right. I didn't say we'll have a coliseum in 4 years. In case the press is here, I don't want anybody to say that. But at least we'll have some plans for some of those things, and hopefully they will be well on their way. Hopefully we'll be well on our way to having a transportation infrastructure, a bus rapid transit system that begins at Rockets Landing, goes to Willow Lawn, and hopefully we'll have gotten so good by that time that the bus will not stop at Willow Lawn, but it'll go to Short Pump. And then we'll go to the other corridors, and we'll make sure that that happens there as well. And so I've led my administration during these last 4 years in trying to make our government more efficient. We know that it is a marathon and not a sprint. We know that there is a lot of work that needs to be done, but we're willing to get it done. I was asked by some people yesterday, why are you doing this? And I said to myself, that's the question that I should be asking myself. Why are you doing this? And before I could even think about it, I responded to the individual who asked me that question. I'm doing this because I care. I'm doing this because somebody has got to stand up and provide progressive leadership for the city that we love. Somebody has got to provide the kind of progressive development strategies that is inclusive, that does not leave anybody behind. And if not anyone else, then I guess it's me. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today.